Hi, I'm Bob Airy, two-time Stanley Cup champ. You're watching the Power Play Break, the place to talk about pucks.
Back here with Rick Peckham on the Power Play Break. Rick, if you could travel back in a time machine for sports, what would be one event or one game you would like to call, that you'd like to put the Rick Peckham moniker on?
Wow. It would have to be, I would think, that Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2004. I would have loved to have called that. B would probably be a Green Bay Packers game, one of those Super Bowls from 67 or 68, or 66, 67, that era of the championships that they had 3 in a row there. So probably an event of that type.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on the air?
Craziest thing? Wow. That's a tough one. I'm going to save one because I think you're going to ask me about it with regard to Chief. And of course, there's craziness there on a regular basis. But probably the weirdest event I've ever been a part of was I announced a downhill ski race in our studio, or our broadcast location was the back seat of the Volvo that would go to the winner of the series of races. We're at the bottom of the hill, some ski resort up in New Hampshire. And it was just weird. The president of this pro ski tour was my color announcer, and we had propped up between the headrests of the front seat was our monitor. So that was probably the weirdest thing I've done. I don't know how crazy that is, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
What's the best part about being an announcer in the NHL?
The best part is just to see these great athletes, which at times, if you have a game that you're not doing and you sit with your family closer down and you really appreciate the speed a little bit more. We get spoiled upstairs. These guys are just such incredible athletes. What they can do at top speed on skates, just before you can snap your fingers, they've decided, okay, I'm going to pass here, or I'm turning here, or I've got to pick up this guy here. It's just such a lightning fast game, so to speak. But to appreciate that and to be around these guys day in, day out, and just regular people, as you've gotten to know them too through the years, hockey players have always been like that. That's really been very enjoyable.
Toughest part about being part of the league?
Toughest part can be the travel. It can be pretty grueling. I think that this year's going to be difficult because we've got that Olympic break hole there in February,
that for 2 weeks,
days.
yeah.
So everything's going to be compacted before and after a little bit. So travel's going to be a little tough, but I would say if you're going to point to one thing, it would probably be, at times, travel.
Best piece of advice ever given to you?
Stay with it. Just stay with it. And I think back to that first year in Rochester we were talking about, where things weren't going my way. I was over my head in terms of what I was expected to do. And even on the broadcast side, I wasn't getting it done. And, people just stay with it, keep going, and things work out. And that's the way it worked.
Who was the biggest influence in your career? Who had the most impact on you?
Wow, that would be, I would say possibly it would have to be Jerry Cheevers, just because we had 9 years together there. I was a Bruins fan, as I told you, when I first started getting interested in hockey. And my goal through college was to try to meet everybody on that 1970 championship team. And that was years before I ever knew I was going to get an opportunity to work with a Jerry Cheevers. But just a day-to-day, the things that I learned about the game, about, this guy's a winner, and this is what makes a winner, and this guy isn't going to make it because of this. Things that you learn about the game day in, day out, and just about the history of the game, too.
Who was your biggest hero growing up?
My biggest hero.
Who's somebody you admired the most? Doesn't have to be in sports. Could be in anything.
Yeah. God, that's a tough one. Boy. Because, you'd pick people from sports, heroes when I was a kid. Jim Taylor from the Packers was, a favorite athlete.
Did you ever meet him?
No, I never did. I never have. And hopefully I still have the opportunity to do that. But Tony Perez, people like that. But in terms of an actual hero away from sports, I don't know. Can't come up with one.
Okay. And finally, this is one question we've asked everybody. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Wow, superpower. I guess the ability to go back in time, maybe redo a few things.
Okay. One thing, though, I do want to know the Chiefs story before we go.
The Chiefs story? All right, this is that year that they win the Cup. It's January 2004. We're in Calgary, ironically. They end up playing the Flames. And the Cup was in the house. And Mike Bolt, one of the keepers of the Cup, was there, and we're having fun on the air. And Mike Bolt, hey, maybe that's a good omen for the Lightning. And maybe they can win the Cup, right? And at this point, they're playing pretty well, but you can't really look and say this is a Cup winner. But anyway, it's Chief's birthday. January 25th, I believe, is the day. And so Paul Kennedy, our sideline reporter, had gotten in touch with Harvey the Hound, who was the Calgary...
The Calgary mascot.
Yep. And so he had them produce a piece of birthday cake from the commissary there at the Olympic Saddle Dome. So the press box and broadcast booths are kind of a gondola. You're hanging over, or a catwalk hanging over the ice. And so I'm sitting here, Chief's over here, the door to the booth is back here, and I'm kind of look, and there's Harvey the Hound. He's got a piece of cake, and it's not with a candle in it. It's a lit sparkler. So
Oh
he
my
comes
God.
in, and he's got the tongue hanging out and all that. And Chief has no idea. So he sneaks up on Chief right during the play and puts this thing right around him. Chief's looking over the railing of the booth to look down at the ice, and he sees that, and he brings his hand up, boom, knocks the thing up in the air. It turns upside down, lands on the carpet. The sparkler has now caught the carpet on fire. It's smoking. We're on the air. The play's going on. I can't talk for like 30 seconds. I'm laughing. I'm just dying laughing.
Hitting the talk back or hitting the cough button.
And Harvey the Hound, he took off. He didn't stick around. So he bolts out of the booth. The stage manager is just stamping on the carpet trying to get the smoke to stop, and before the an actual flame comes out, and she's like, "What the heck's going on?" And we just died for about a minute. It was just unbelievable, but never forget that story.
Well, I want to thank you for your time here on the Power Play Break today. It's been a great time to talk to you about everything in your career.
Really enjoyed it, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
That'll do it for this one, the Power Play Break. I'm Chris Riley. Remember, this is the place to talk about pucks.